Just kind of talk about preparation for Khalil Tate this weekend.
Again, we've had a good work week, good practice week. Again, got to contain them and make sure we don't let them get loose. We already know that the offense is very explosive. So again, it comes down to what I say week in and week out, right? You have to stop the run. So he's a tremendous athlete, and he's done well for himself. We saw him at the end of the game last year, and so we know the task at hand. So I believe the boys have done a good job of preparing all week. And Caleb Hayes was on scout, giving us a really good look. I mean, if you guys have been watching, I mean, he's explosive as well. So it's been a very productive week. I'm excited to see how it goes when we get down there Saturday night.
Can you speak a little bit about the news that broke yesterday about Travoris Johnson being suspended indefinitely?
You know, obviously things happen, and, you know, we're going to handle those things internally. And I'm going to talk to him and kind of see where he is. Obviously, we always want to give our athletes a fair shake, fair chance. And then, you know, when you make mistakes like that, you kind of got to, you know, just grow up and learn from it. But it's not over by a long shot. You just got to have conversations with him and make sure we're leading these young student athletes down the right path, down the right direction. You know, teaching them the right things. That's all.
So this is a team rules violation type thing? Or?
Well, no, it's just, again, you got to see what the circumstance is. It's the same thing what I said about Manasseh, right? We just got to see what the circumstances are and make sure we're doing what's best for the team and the student athlete and what's best for the university, right? So you got to protect all parties involved. So really haven't sat down and really discussed everything. So right now, there's just something would rather not discuss until I get all the pertinent information.
One more question at the risk of discussing something you don't want to discuss, but is he out this week definitely? Or no?
We'll discuss that.
So
as soon as I go in here right now, we'll discuss that. Because we got to remember, I'm still dueling as position coach, with safeties, corners. So now I'll be able to go in and be able to take on that duty.
Back to Arizona kind of this week, what are kind of some of your team goals headed into the game?
You know what? Obviously, we got to control the time of possession, right? We have to establish our run offensively and, keep our offense on the field, keep their offense off the field. And most importantly, like I said, you can't get too ingrained and focused on Khalil Tate. We got to understand, like I said, there's 10 other guys out there that'll potentially hurt you. You know, if you watch the Washington State game, it wasn't just Khalil Tate that was effective offensively. You know, they have other athletes that are talented and good at what they do as well. They got some receivers out there, and they have two pretty good running backs. So, we have to stop the run. It's going to sound very, very redundant and repetitive. But again, that's the key to any football game. You look back last week to Cal. You don't stop the run; those things happen. And then what is the run doing? You keep keeping the clock going. So now your offense is feeling like they got to march down and come from behind. So we just got to control the time of possession.
With last week, the run defense kind of struggling against Patrick Laird. What have you guys tried to do this week to kind of shore up some holes in that run defense?
Again, just make sure we focus on the fundamentals and put guys in the right spots, right situation to be successful. And just focus on the details of our assignments. And I feel like the defense has done a good job of that this week to where, we had some holes, we fixed them. So only time will tell. Only Saturday night will be the factor that proves the work week, how well that went. We'll see if it translates.
What did you learn on your first road trip, and what are you going to take into your second road trip as the interim head coach?
First road trip, again, what I wanted to focus on was we have to establish the away turf as the home turf, and kind of get the players in the mindset of this is football, this is still a field, no matter if it's at Reeser, right, or down there in their stadium. We have to feel comfortable here. And so that was the thing that I wanted to focus on, right, is just making that environment an environment that we wouldn't be distracted by. And outside of that, the players, everyone traveled well, everyone behaved themselves appropriately. And so I couldn't ask for a better group of young men. They handled themselves well, the scenario, the situation. And so, moving into the second road, being on the road for my second time, everything will stay the same.
How did you come to the decision to use Caleb as as Khalil?
Well, and that's what I speak to. I speak to when I say the future is bright here. There are a lot of players that a lot of us haven't seen yet. Now, when we recruited Caleb Hayes, he was a quarterback. That's what he ran, that same zone read. He ran that offense. And so what people fail to realize is Caleb Hayes is very explosive. He's just as fast, if not faster, than Khalil Tate. He's a track guy that played quarterback. So trying to make the transition from quarterback to DB is where we felt it was the position as far as his body type and what we knew he would grow into, but be where he would flourish. But then when it comes to a work week like this, and then you watch how he performs, he's just doing what he was doing in high school, and that was the reason why we recruited him, right? Because he's explosive. And so I got the idea. I'm like, you know what? Who's ran this offense before in high school or at any level? And it was Caleb Hayes. And then he comes out and he gives us. We couldn't have got a better look from anybody.
Sounds like the DB's coach did a pretty good job of taking him away from the offense.
You see that? Defensive guy. What do you expect? What do you want me to do? The thing is, that was a great audition, right? So again, things to come. You never know. We might have Khalil Tate in here at Oregon State. I was just saying, that's what I was joking with him. And I was like, Caleb, don't fail the audition.
On the other side, what do you need to see out of Darryl this week to get that productivity?
Just, stay poised. And just control the clock, manage the offense, do what Darryl's been known to do, right? And we watched him play when he was at Utah State, and Darryl Garrison's capable. He's more than capable of making big plays and putting us in the right position. So you just want him to stay poised. He's had a great work week, and just manage the clock as best as he possibly can.
You've had some pretty good efforts now, still haven't won. How is the team attitude?
You see them out here. Because they get it, and they understand that when a play presents itself, you have to make it, because it's the difference between winning and losing. And they also have bought into the reality of it's a 4-quarter game. You look at the Cal game, and it was 14-7. It could have quickly turned into 21-7, right? And then you would have been able to look at the sideline and say, what is the posture? What's the demeanor? Well, I think now you see a team who understands. I spoke about in the past, you watch Cal, they were down versus Arizona 21-7. Same thing, you go into double overtime. So I think history has proven to this team that no matter the score, again, we could be up 21-7. And that's, again, what is your posture? Because again, as long as there's time left on the clock, anything is possible. Anything can happen, right? Players make plays in big moments, and when they step up, you have to account for that. So that's what you see. The energy level is still there, still remains, because this football team loves football, and they love to compete. And that's what you're starting to learn. That's what I've learned over this 4-week period, that they love to compete. They love the game of football. It's just, honing that and kind of channeling that in the right direction and guiding that emotion and that passion, and putting it within terms of schematics and scenarios, situations, and just really teaching that to them has been great. And I have a great staff that has done just that. So again, it just has to translate. When will it translate? I don't know, but it's here. It is definitely here.
Manasseh said yesterday that Khalil is one of his he's high on his list for quarterbacks he wants to hit. When you were in the league, who's a player or a quarterback that you want to hit?
There was a lot of those. There was a lot of players I didn't want to hit. Did not want to hit Jerome Bettis. Who did I want to hit? I don't want to even say his name. I don't even want to rebirth this little rivalry. I don't even want to go there, because then it'll get blown up once again.
I'll tweet.
But exactly. But any receiver, right? Any receiver that was squirrely, you wanted to get a hand on. A tough one was Hines Ward, because Hines Ward was tough as nails. So you wanted to dish it out because he could take it, and he would deliver it as well. And you look at receivers like Keyshawn Johnson, right? You knew Keyshawn Johnson was going to be ball first, and then if I feel threatened, I'm going to go ahead and tuck. So quarterbacks, every quarterback, right? Because in my third or fourth season, I tied the all-time sack record by a defensive back in Cincinnati, set by, I believe, Sam Shade. And so it didn't matter. Mark Brunell, right? I got after him probably twice in the same game. I mean, I've had to rush quarterbacks. I mean, Peyton Manning. You know, obviously you want to. Now that's hard because of the play action they used to run, right? Who else? Who else? What other quarterback? Now I'll tell you one who was hard to chase was Mike Vick. That's why when the comment came, that's why I was a little touchy. That's why I was like, wait a minute. We had to chase. hey. And that wasn't fair. I told the story. I was like, you know, before I hit the free agent market, when we played against Michael Vick, I thought he was like 6'2", 6'1", because that's how big he played. Then I got to Cincinnati, he was like 5'11". I mean, Atlanta, he was like 5'11". You know what I mean? Just barely 6 foot tall. So quarterbacks like that. And then who else? Really, I mean, it was all of them, because that was what I did well. I rushed the passer. And so it's always fun. So I understand when I say wanting to do that, because you want to leave your mark. And not only that, you want to see how well the number 2 quarterback plays.
You mentioned you like to hit squirrely receivers. So give us an example of a squirrely receiver.
A squirrely receiver in the pros?
Yeah.
Again, you was trying to stop.
You're the one that says you can still throw on the pads. So.
No. Well, I mean, any of them, right? All of them, because
they were all squirrely?
Well,
we just want to hear
I'll tell you a tough one. A tough one was Steve Smith. Yeah. Again, a lot of respect. I mean, that was always a tough one, because you can never get a clean shot on him. Right. That's what I mean by squirrely. Who else? Who else did we have to face though? Because for the most part, they were all long, right? Plexico Burris was long. I'd say probably Steve Smith, for being the most squirrely receiver that you want to get that flush hit on. Matter of fact, I think never mind. Don't even go down that road. Never mind.
Camera's not even on.
Never mind.
Yes, I'll ask you once I turn the camera on.
But it was always fun as a defensive back, right? I mean, at some point in your career, you play receiver. And the reason why you moved to defensive back is because you couldn't catch. We couldn't catch. So there's a little jealousy, a little envy in there that might cause us to play a little more aggressive towards receivers. But I definitely understand where Manasseh's coming from.